Hello and welcome to today's program, 5 Ways to Grab Attention with Social Media Marketing. Carly Simon is our presenter for this program tonight. She's a dedicated marketing consultant. For over 2 decades, Carly has supported businesses with branding, building consumer loyalty, and increasing traffic through traditional and social media. Carly is certified in mastering digital marketing with the London Business School and a content marketing specialist with an international research journal company. Thank you, Carly, for sharing your experience on this important topic tonight, and I trust all of our viewers will find it informative and helpful. Next slide. My name is Maria Smith, and I'm a volunteer with SCORE of Chester and Delaware counties. SCORE is a nonprofit organization that has been in existence for over 50 years and is a resource partner of the Small Business Administration. SCORE's mission is to foster a strong small business community by providing free mentorship and business education. We are here to support you and help you grow your business. Here in Chester and Delaware counties, we have 100 volunteers ready to help. Our mentoring and most of our educational programs are free. You will find many tools, templates, and other business resources on our website resource library. Next slide. Today's program is scheduled for 1 hour until 7:30 p.m. The presentation is being recorded and will be made available to you after today's session, probably sometime tomorrow morning, and it will come along with Carly's slide deck that you will be seeing tonight. You all have been placed on mute, so we avoid distractions. Please ask your questions in the Q&A box, and we will take breaks to answer them. If you have any references or comments that you want to make, you can use the chat box. Welcome, Carly, our presenter.
Thank you so very much. I'm thrilled to be back with presenting with SCORE. I used to work for Kutztown University Small Business Development Center, and one of my favorite things to do was to partner with SCORE for webinars and to really help out and support entrepreneurs and figuring out what their marketing strategy is. And I'm here to help you with over 20 years of experience, hopefully kind of get all that detail down into one presentation. So today we are going to be doing a brand new presentation based off of my consumer behavioral textbook called 5 Ways to Grab Attention with Social Media Marketing. And it's so important with so many other companies competing in your industry sector, as well as other organizations, in terms of how can you grab their attention in such a busy feed on some of these app platforms. So as we mentioned, I'm a marketing consultant and a content marketing specialist. I've been a marketer for 25 years. I have done everything from, helping drive sales, donations, event attendance, reach, conversions for nonprofits, a corporation now, as well as small businesses when I was wearing my SBDC hat. My degree is in psychology, so everything you see in this presentation today is rooted in psychology because ultimately it's all about building trust and relationships, particularly on social media. And as I stated, I'm a consumer behavioral textbook author for colleges and universities because we absolutely have to understand our customers' pain points, what their needs are, what benefits are they looking for, right? And how do they function, in terms of neuroscience, neuromarketing, and how do they also operate and relate when buying and consuming our products in relation to their peers, right? Their families and friends, and ultimately the social media networks. So I would love to get to know a little bit more about you. So please let me know, what industry or sector are you in? Are you nonprofit? Are you for profit? And then, let me know. Are you working in insurance? Are you a nonprofit arts company? just go ahead and drop that in the comment box because I would love to know where you're based.
Did you want me to pull up the poll now?
Oh, we can do that right after this question. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
All right, good. I don't see anything in the chat box just yet, Carly.
No problem at all. So why don't we go ahead and bring up that first poll while maybe we're thinking about sharing what industry or sector we're in.
Okay, and we do have one response. We heard that Alicia is interior designer and an owner. So,
Wonderful. I actually consulted a client on her marketing who was in that area. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that.
okay. All right, I'm going to launch this poll. There's two questions here. They're easy, one answer for each, multiple choice. If you could just take a minute to respond for you and your business, that would be great. It will help Carly understand who's attending tonight and where you are in your process. Thank you for doing this. Just another second to give people time to complete it.
Sure.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share the results so you can see them. So
Okay.
question one, you have a third of the audience working on it and 2/3 that answered no. And for the second question, are you on social media for your business now? Most are. And there's about 25% who aren't there yet.
Okay, wonderful. And if you have not designed a graphic for social media, that is perfectly all right. In fact, it's really great to get some of these foundations before you even launch on social media graphic design. And graphic design ultimately is all about experimentation as well. And again, even if you don't have a social media presence for your business, what we're going to try to do for you with this presentation today is really also not only get you to think about, well, how can you design visual content for your business or future business, but also when you are scrolling through your social media feed yourself, really thinking about and reflecting, right? What makes you stop scrolling? And so when you do that in the future, whether it's tonight, right, or this week, okay, so I stopped scrolling, right, on this social media post. What aspect of it that Carly talked about tonight, right, made me stop and watch that? And if that made me stop, and maybe you have some commonalities, right, with your ideal target customer, how can you then apply that, right, to your customers? So that was all really great information from the polls. Thank you so much for participating in that. And then the last question today is, name one thing you were hoping to learn from today. And again, what you may want to learn today may not necessarily be covered in the presentation, but this kind of information really helps me think about, because I've done, presentations for SCORE for about 2 years now. It's something we can reflect upon, potentially having a presentation about in the future. So name one thing you were hoping to learn today about attracting your customers' attention on social media.
And you can put that information in the chat box so that we can see what you're thinking. Right now, it's a little quiet.
And that's quite all right. As
Okay.
you said,
Maybe
it has been
maybe
a long
people
day for a
long
lot of
day,
us.
right? Or maybe they're thinking about it and they may tell us a
Yeah,
little bit later. Okay.
yeah, absolutely. Take your time. So, we are going to talk about five main strategies: size, color, position, placement, and surprise in terms of attracting your customers' attention on social media. And a lot of these strategies can be used on what's called more traditional media, right? So, television, print ads in magazines and newspapers. But our presentation today is really customized specifically how we can apply those five strategies to social media. Now, what is attention marketing? And these are some additional bonus strategies I want to say that you can also apply and integrate in conjunction with some of the other five core strategies we'll be talking about today. So, talking about, emphasizing certain parts of elements on your graphic design on your post and the visual weight of those elements, which we will go definitely more in depth today. Really understanding when you are creating content for your business on social media. Two important aspects here: that one certain design concept you're working on, or maybe you're hiring a graphic designer to help you out with, may work for one platform, like something may be successful on TikTok, but that design may not necessarily work and attract the attention of somebody on LinkedIn. And also, very much ensuring that whatever assets that you are designing yourself or you're hiring a freelancer or agency to do, that it is, working well on both mobile and your desktop. Another really important thing to keep in mind, that when I am consulting entrepreneurs on, is ensuring that you have diversity in the types of media content that you're sharing. So, making sure that, I want to say, that you're not sharing the same square post promoting a certain sale that you're doing multiple times, right, over a week or two time span. You want to have diversity of images, videos, GIFs, even memes where appropriate, so that way that also stops your customer in their tracks going like, "Oh, hey, I've not ever seen them share this kind of content before. I wonder what your business is trying to say." Then with attention marketing, we're talking about super snackable content, particularly in the past couple years, and we'll talk more about that why later on this presentation. Then storytelling, right? So, how are you going to really capture emotions? We have one really great example of that later on in the presentation. If possible, with your content, ensuring that you are telling a story, trying to really target a certain emotion, that your content, particularly if it's a video, has a beginning, middle, and end to it. And then lastly, talking about hacking a trend. So, particularly on TikTok, on Instagram, more like your reels, stories, and so forth. Is there a certain trend that's growing in popularity over the past week or month? And does it apply to your business? And would your customer audience value that? And would that attract their attention? So, these are just a few bonus strategies I wanted to share with you. Now we're going to get really into the five core strategies. So, first, we're going to talk about size and specifically elements in your graphic design post. So, what do we mean about elements? So, an element can be your text, it can be this yellow square with the arrows on the left of the bullet point list. Elements can be photos, um, but the elements within your content, whether it be a static image or whether it be a video, can attract your customers' attention. When we're talking about visual weight in that first bullet point, take a look again at the yellow bold square. Look how thick that border is, the thickness of the arrows. That's what's called visual weight. And when you have elements that have more of kind of like a thick border to it, that is going to be more apt to catch your customers' attention. Another strategy you can use, and we'll have examples of each of these strategies also to help visualize what these would kind of look like in the social media wild. But a lot of companies will use the trend of introducing giant visual elements. And again, it can be a giant visual element like the square, it can be a giant visual photograph, but that will also attract your customers' attention too. And again, keeping in mind, it's all about testing. So maybe your customer base would be attracted to uh, large photos of human faces, right? But not necessarily large graphic design elements like this. We'll also be talking about large text size as well as exactly how big should you go about making your logo on a design you're making for your business. Now, we're also going to talk about post size briefly here. So, when it comes to size on a platform, depending upon the platform, you can see square, horizontal, and vertical posts. You'll also see carousel and carousel videos, and those would be more of a horizontal post classification. So you're swiping to the left and you're scrolling through that as a long horizontal post. Then you have multiple posts put together, right, for an Instagram grid, and all depending, where your customer is scrolling, that can look like a horizontal row, or it can look like a square or a vertical column. Then you have stories and vertical videos and vertical reels. Videos can also be horizontal. You want to very much make sure that whatever you're designing, and I highly recommend Canva. That's what I've been designing this particular presentation on. And what's fantastic about Canva is they will actually have the dimensions for you with making the posts. But post size is important. Why? Because I'll say, for example, on Facebook, right? So if you're scrolling through your Facebook feed, typically you're used to seeing squares or like horizontal videos when it comes to like live streams. But if you see a vertical square reel coming through your feed from a business or a page that you're following, that's going to stop you in your tracks because it is disrupting your feed because you're looking at a format that was unique to you. So let's take a look at some of these post and element size examples in the social media wild here. So on the left, you'll see the YouTube ad for YouTube TV, and take a look on the right hand side there where you see that very bold, thick weighted visual element of the word Sunday. And so that is going to grab YouTube's customers' attention in their tracks to be like, well, what's going on Sunday, right? And so they're going to stop to find out what is that. In the middle of our page, for example, is you'll see Google on their Facebook platform for a paid ad taking advantage of a vertical static image. Now, take a look at that. They're taking advantage of the vertical post size for attracting attention, as well as taking advantage of the very large human face. They're looking at advertising their phones. Their product is nice and large, as well as the large circle there. So they're employing a lot of kind of larger elements. Then on the right, you have a really unique horizontal static image from AIGA Society with their promotion of a design conference. And so they are really maximizing attention by using a very bold, thick visual element weight, like we talked about earlier, And look how long that is and how it draws your eye from left to right, because that's how we naturally read, right? And that takes you from the conference title from the left over to their message in the middle, and then that visual element of that swirl takes you over to the right to when is the conference and where is it located. So really great examples of post size and element size to grab attention. Now we're going to look at how can you grab attention on a carousel ad. So Pepsi Instagram does a phenomenal job with illustrated graphics here. So take a look on the left, the giant size element of the house. On the right, the very pronounced main character in the foreground that you're seeing right in that bottom left-hand corner. That's immediately grabbing your attention. And again, they're using giant size elements as you're scrolling through on both squares throughout the carousel. So we have another character here. Again, very large size. Their text is giant. And on the one on the right here, the action of the hand, how large the hand is, the comic and cartoon bubble, all of these visual elements and the giant size of it is going to make Pepsi's customers kind of stop in their track and be like, okay, so where is this story going? It's really even exemplifying the actions as being very large and dynamic. Even, how the main character here is thinking, right? So we have text that's very large that we'll talk about in the next section here, and you have a very large photo of a human face, and anything with a human face, most of the time, is going to be a really high attractor for human attention. Let's take a look at Instagram grids and how you can really maximize them for emphasizing large objects, whether it's your customer wearing your product or your service. So on the left, we're seeing, patterns of some of the home decor. I know one of you said you were on interior design, and the one on the left, really can take a really good example of how you can combine Instagram posts together to create kind of a larger grid to catch attention if somebody is just landing, for example, on your Instagram profile from another social media profile or from your website. And so that'll attract their attention and be like, you know what? I love how, that room looks. I love how that particular piece of decor looks against that furniture piece. I want to click on that post and read more about it. The middle portion with Estee Lauder example, we're taking a look at some really nice giant vertical images combined together of human faces. And then a little bit lower, you're seeing some giant images of products and exemplifying their color palette as well as a brand. Now let's move into text size. So with using font size when designing for your business, at minimum, you want to use 16 points. That will help make reading your brand and product messaging much easier for your customer audience. You want to make sure you have really good font size contrast. So you want to make sure that your main heading, your subheading, and your body text with your design of your, video, of your static image, that, it's not all the same size. The heading should be larger than the subheading, and the subheading should be larger than the body text. And then there's a couple other really key strategies you can use with specifically your text with grabbing attention, and that can be making sure the text is large, like we saw with a couple examples, and we'll see some more of that. Bolded, you can use drop shadow, outline, or another effect against a really good bold color of a contrasting background. And you want to make sure that you don't go overboard with effects, or again, it'll make it really hard to read as to where your customer's eye should be. You'll be getting this presentation slide deck, of course, to help you kind of remember. I wanted to ensure that you're going to be getting my presentation so you can be like, what did Carly say about, text size or element size? So you will have all this information, including some key points here about typographic size hierarchy, because there's a lot of different ways you can experiment with using bold font types and using lighter font types like you see on the left here. So you don't want always everything to be on your visual design all in bold, because then your customer eye won't know where to look and you won't hold their attention. They'll keep scrolling right by. So let's take a look at some text size examples. So in Canva, I love how they used what's new. So asking a question super bold, right? So that question, very large in itself, is going to prompt curiosity, and you're going to be like, well, yeah, what is new with Canva? What new things have they added that I haven't tried yet, right? As a customer, take a look how new there is bolded and italicized to set the word new apart from what's. Now let's take a look at the example in the middle with Best Buy ads. Because Best Buy is a large corporation, very well known brand, right away, if they have Best Buy on their visual piece of content that they're creating, right away, that is going to grab their customers' attention. And then on the right is a really good example if you're just starting with your business and maybe, future customers or your current customers aren't quite sure yet what your brand color scheme is, or you're looking to attract a potential customer. If you use words like free trial and very large text, on your visual assets, that's going to be another way to grab attention. And I love how they use the color red there. And again, if your brand color scheme is not red, really making sure that you're thinking strategically that that color red is going to still complement your brand color scheme. Another phenomenal example of large text size in a LinkedIn carousel ad. So I love how they just show and reveal one letter at a time, right? So that's going to attract their customers' attention, because the customer is going to be like, well, what letter is going to be next, right? When I slide through, what is it going to ultimately spell out at the end? Let's talk briefly about vertical video size. So, in the past couple years, and ultimately in the past 10 years, when Snapchat first launched as a platform, we were introduced to vertical video, and social media platforms have not turned back since. And why is that? Well, first of all, most consumers are going to be viewing the content you will be sharing as a business on social media on their phones. And horizontal videos are smaller when viewed on the mobile phone. So that's why you've seen so many of the platforms like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and more recently YouTube and LinkedIn kind of jump on the bandwagon of vertical videos. And vertical videos are really important with grabbing customers' attention, because unlike horizontal video, you're really cutting out the distraction of what's going on in yours, right? If you're viewing content, or your customer's peripheral vision, what you're seeing on the outside of your main um, focal eye viewpoint. And some really quick examples of vertical video here. So on the left, you see American Eagle. Obviously, they're taking advantage of that giant text typeface there. but also not only are they taking advantage of vertical video, but also the vertical length of the leg attached to the product of footwear that they're trying to promote. And then with YouTube on the right, take a look at the use of using very tall dogs as well as tall trees to kind of fill up um, that vertical video shot that they're creating there. Some very quick stats on vertical video. And the most important stat is on the top. So I highly recommend that you follow Buffer, experiment with other platforms outside of Canva like Animoto Video. But Buffer and Animoto did test in terms of Facebook newsfeed and found that, vertical video absolutely outperforms Square. And if you're gonna be doing vertical video, Entrepreneur says that you should have it about 10 to 60 seconds flat. And in terms of the work I've done over the years with video and social media, really even after 10 seconds, your customer's attention is going to drastically drop off after that. Let's talk about logo size. Now, what I've typically see when I consult with entrepreneurs is it's so difficult to navigate like how big should you put your logo on, especially if you're just launching who you are and customers are just trying to get to know you. Overall, I recommend that unless you are a really name brand company, that your logo probably shouldn't constitute more than like 10% of the size of your social media posts. Ultimately, though, your logo size will vary all depending on what you're trying to communicate with your social media posts. And, again, if you haven't started your business yet, or if you've started your business and you worked with your graphic designer, if they haven't given you your logo in a visual icon only, so let's say, I used to work for a library, and our library had a visual icon of a tree. So we would make sure that we had our logo with our library name and the tree, our library name by itself, and then our tree by itself. And, I was there when we rolled out our new logo for the first time and brand. And so as our customers got to know what our brand logo looked like, at some point, months, a year or two down the line, I was able eventually to use just the tree logo. And right away, they knew that that was our library's visual when they were scrolling through the feed. And you can even use what's called like a monogram, where it's just the first letter or two. Again, that's something that you really only want to use if you're a very well established business. And then also, of course, there is the challenge in terms of, if you're doing a collaboration, whether it's with an influencer or if you're co-hosting an event, how big should you make the logos? And I've done a webinar talking about that specifically. Here we're just going to talk about very quickly logo size examples. So here you see a very well established website hosting company of WordPress just using to promote a collaboration the visual icon of their partner as well as the monogram logo of themselves. On the middle, you have a lesser known company, and that is Flowcode. And here's an example of what I talked about with my library, just using their text as their logo. And I love how simplistic that is and how the uh, the phone just draws your attention right away to their logo name in the center of the image that they created. And finally, on the right, you're seeing an example of how to maximize logo size on your product with taking a photo of that product and using that as a main focal point to catch your customer's attention in the social media feed with what you see with the Starbucks cup here. With logo size, you also want to make sure that you're considering with social media outside of post content. You want to think about, you know, what about my social media cover photo, my social media banners that your customers are seeing when they land on your profile? And sometimes what I see when I consult with entrepreneur clients is that they'll kind of replicate their logo and have it super big on their profile, which it absolutely should be big on your profile, but then they will also be kind of redundant and have it very large on their cover photo as well. And I really recommend not doing that. You should really save your real estate important space of your cover photo. We'll talk about that a little bit later, for a product or service or promo that you're promoting. This is an exception to the case where like the logo in a way is kind of like propelling that sprinter forward. So that would be kind of one of the few exceptions to using a logo in a giant form on a cover photo. Before we get into strategy number two, do we have any questions at all?
So we did get a response to your earlier question about what people might want to learn tonight. And there were two comments or questions. One is what's popular right now, and the other is what SEO words are hot right now.
Ah,
I think these
so
are probably over the whole general social media topic.
yeah, and some of the things that we are covering, some of the examples that you're seeing right now, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I was capturing examples within the past. I just made this as a brand new presentation, so what you're seeing with examples is definitely what is trending with some of these major companies right now when it comes to attention and design concepts. Now, in terms of what is popular with social media at all. That could be a whole another, presentation in itself. And then in terms of SEO words, that is definitely another topic that would have to be for like another presentation. And I can definitely direct you to some quick resources if you want to send me an email or LinkedIn message after the fact. And that's going to be very dependent upon your business. But again, you can feel free to send me a message and I can send you some resources to kind of get you started exploring that. So, any questions? If not, we'll launch into our final couple strategies here.
There's no other questions at this time.
All right. Thank you so very much. So let's talk about color. And when it comes to color and grabbing attention, we're specifically targeting your customers' emotional responses. It's also hugely important that when you're making your logo, that you're also making sure it's fully integrated with your brand color scheme and that you're leveraging those brand colors when either you or an employee or an agency is making your content. You want to make sure that different kinds of color tones will attract attention. So warm colors will make those elements feel kind of very close and large, which is kind of what we want to do. And cool colors and contrast will make those elements feel kind of far and tiny. And in our next couple of strategies, we'll be talking quite a bit about isolation effect. And that's just a fancy term for talking about a unique element that will make it stand apart in a repeating pattern in terms of what you would be designing. And I'll definitely show you some examples of that so you can visualize exactly what we mean by that. So, color examples. So, you can attract your customers' attention. So, let's take a look at Tough Mudder on the left, right? If Tough Mudder would not have, number one, used their color, their brand color as an accent on the headbands, on all three headbands, if they would have instead used some random three different colors as headbands, that would not have caught their customer audience attention. But because they uniformly use the same color, their brand color that their customers know is their brand on all three headbands, that's going to stop their customer in their feed. Taking a look at leveraging what's called a monochromatic, design trend with a color, not only in your background color image here with Adobe, but also on, the main photo or product featured, also going to attract a consumer's attention. And lastly, on the right, Starbucks again always excels when it comes to color design. Take a look how even though they have red in the design, and those colors note are a little bit more muted when it comes to the ornament. But look how the white ornaments really draw your attention to that red cup on the center there. So again, I always encourage you to take a look when you're scrolling through your social media feed and think about what stops your attention when it comes to color. And every customer is going to have different positive and different negative feelings attached to color. So for some, blue may be a negative, emotion. For other customers, it may be a positive emotion. And take a look at that percentage number of 90% of a brand's first impression is going to be coming from color with what you're designing. So being very intentional with your color. Here's some more quick color examples. So red can make you feel hungry, like restaurants and primarily McDonald's in the middle. A lot of times hungry, red is what you go for. Or on the left, red can mean danger, right? Like what the Wiggles are using with no ticket scalpers. Either way, with both of those color emotional psychology strategies, both McDonald's and the Wiggles are attracting their customers' attention with how they use color with those designs. And then on the right, I know we just got out of fall, and typically you think more Starbucks, right, with orange associated with fall, but Haagen-Dazs really knocks it out of the park with using color orange, again, monochromatic, meaning all the same color from the color of their drink to the color of the leaves to the color of the background, all very intentional with attracting attention. And then again, we're going to talk about isolation effect with color. And so, how can you use one color to really make your product or service stand apart from all the other colors that you're using in your design or a pattern? And let's take a look at a very old video, but a really strategic video with Hershey Kisses here. So take a look at the tree. And we're always used to number one, the red and green colored Hershey Kisses coming out around the holiday time. But as a customer, we're primarily used to seeing that silver Hershey Kiss. And so you'll see the green and red rather, Hershey Kisses doing the movement, but you want to pay attention until the end because that silver Hershey Kiss just stays still until the very last part of the video until finally it moves. And because the silver Hershey Kiss is by itself, that attracts Hershey Kisses customers' audience. Moving quickly into attention elements in terms of position. And by position, we mean where is the element placed in the post, right? So, where is that black arrow placed? Where is that yellow triangle placed? Keeping in mind that direction in design leads your user's eye, so that arrow immediately drawing your attention to the top of the triangle, right? And your higher elements, so the layers you see in this triangle, are going to catch your attention or your customer's attention first. And of course, whatever is going to be in the foreground of the image, for example, like when we saw that Pepsi carousel ad where that one cartoon character was in that left-hand corner, that's going to attract your attention first. Let's take a look at position example. So where your eye is immediately drawn to amongst this pattern, right, of black and white human faces with this Gillette ad is immediately to the bottom right hand corner, where Gillette is literally drawing a colored face stripe which breaks the pattern of the black and white faces. So that's a really great example of using position in a column, dragging the viewer eyes down to the element of their product at the bottom right hand side. Some other position examples, super love what HelloFresh did with the placement of 8 free meals. So what is their customer going to get, right? When they open up the box, literally an unboxing video, reflected in a static image that doesn't move. And that's what we mean by static, is an image that doesn't move. So they are going to be getting 8 free meals when they open that. So being very strategic, right, of where you place your text in an image. A really great video example that I encourage you to take a look at. Take a look on YouTube and take a look for dyslexic thinking. They do a really phenomenal job of using text and shapes in a very short video to really not only initially attract their customers' attention, but keep their customers' attention throughout the video. So I encourage you, like, you have some time tonight or this weekend, take a look at this video and how they use that to attract attention. Now, for our fourth strategy, we're going to talk about something different. Placement is different than position. So, where position is, where is the element within the post, within the static image or video that I'm creating? Uh, Placement is, where is my post in my customer's social media feed, right? Or in my social media business profile. So we're going to really think hard about the concept of above the fold. What is channel customization? And only certain channels, and I have them all listed for you here, only certain social media platforms allow you to use channel customization as a business. Only certain channels, again, allow you to do pin content, whether it's on your profile or whether it is in a comment within a post. And again, I have examples of all this for you. Only certain examples, such as featured content, again, allow you to use featured content. And then only Facebook allows you to have tabs as a business profile to kind of let you rearrange your tabs to grab your attention, right? So where do you want to put your about profile tab compared to your video, your events, and your shop tab? And being really strategic about it, because I will tell you, whether you're on your website or whether you're on your social media profile, the first 1 to 3 things that customers see will be the first thing that they click. And we have tested that time and time again, and that's proved to have been true. So, hugely important. What is above the fold? Those are elements that can be displayed in one screen before you start to scroll, whether it be on your phone or whether it be on your laptop. And being very strategic in terms of letting your customer know that, yeah, there is something more, right, for you to scroll. And also to ensure that your call to action is placed above the fold, whether that is a word, a messaging, or whether that is a button, ensuring that is above the fold. And following, I have some quick examples of channel customization. Highly recommend that you follow Neil Patel on all of his channels. He is one of the leading marketing experts in his field. He founded the company Uber Suggest. ensuring, and especially if you're just starting out as an entrepreneur, how have you optimized your own LinkedIn business profile to ensure that people know what you're talking about? So take a look how Neil Patel uses hashtags so people know what he's going to be talking about, what value or benefit he's going to be giving them. If they decide to click that blue follow button, call to action button, and look how he used his very large face and orange bolded color in terms of the square behind him to also attract attention. And he's also taking advantage of the featured content feature in LinkedIn. So if you aren't leveraging featured content in LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you do that. And then just giving you some quick examples of other platforms that also allow you to customize, including YouTube. And so you can really be strategic in your playlists. So 99 Designs automatically is giving what their customers want in their first 3 rows as they're scrolling. So what your customer wants when it comes to YouTube should be in their first rows as they're scrolling. And for them, it's trends, awards, and kind of user reviews, social media proof. Whole food market. So when it comes to Pinterest, you can be really strategic and organize your boards as well as your pins in terms of what you want your customers to see first. Because if they don't scroll and you don't attract their attention in the first 3 rows, sorry, you're going to, potentially lose their attention. TikTok posts. So there is a reason why a lot of your TikTok influencers, have the first 3 pinned posts there, and that is because typically it is their most viewed post. And so, what are you as a customer, right, going to be more likely to click on? Is it going to be that post that only got 10,000 views, right, or that post that got 5.4 million views? And also, really, what kind of post are you pinning to the top of your feed? In this case, talking about, remember, we talked about emotional stories. So, how dad helped my small business, how mom helped my small business. And then the other company brand, she's really taking advantage of customer emotions and reviews and her creative process and how her product actually works. And really, with TikTok, a lot of the content that customers prefer is kind of that behind the scenes creative cross process, how products actually work, and very short, snackable content that we talked about earlier. Here's some examples of pinning Instagram comments, and you can only pin comments that your customers make and making sure that you're being strategic about that. So for the company on the left, they're ensuring that they are pinning comments that already answer the most common asked questions, right? Like, is this good for sensitive skin? Where is this available? And then here are some more examples outside of Neil Patel of how other entrepreneurs, specifically marketing and human resource influencers, are using featured content to attract their customers. So if their future customers and followers are seeing that they are offering webinars or articles or documents that are going to provide some sort of value or benefit, their customers more likely to follow them on social media. With YouTube, really being strategic in terms of taking advantage of the featured video. And what is that featured video going to be about? What's new? Something seasonal? What kind of benefit in the case of Animoto? Talking about placement with Instagram again. So horizontal grids, which is what you see on your left with kind of like very similar looking homes. The middle example is using your Instagram post to create kind of like a vertical placement grid. And on the right, we see an example of strategically using products to create kind of like a diagonal grid. And then for our final strategy, because I know we are getting super short for time here, is using surprise as an attention element. So, what is something out of the ordinary that you can post on your social media profile to grab your customers' attention? And one of those big things can be an unboxing of your products by creating and building anticipation. Before we get into the unboxing video, we have just a few quick examples of how you can use visual elements to grab surprise, even something as simple from LinkedIn as using graphic elements of colored shapes to represent numbers instead of using text as numbers, to visually represent for this zoo a baby zebra as a black and white crosswalk stripe to kind of visually lead their viewer to walk their way to the zoo, so to speak. And then on the right, like a surprise of, oh, wow, this is a 19th century painter. And they're holding, a Samsung camera here. And that's something out of the ordinary that's going to stop a customer in their tracks. So here's some really other great examples of taking a product, and making it something different. It's a surprise. The customer's not expecting a tea kettle to be envisioned as an orange. So really thinking outside of the box, or having an agency, or a college student who's a graphic designer helping you think outside the box to represent your product in a different way. And then lastly, the unboxing video, creating shock value, like, really taking advantage of your packing material, your notes, your product card, and really making it into a whole experience. And, what is, the potential customer's face, and what words are they going to be used when they finally pull your product out of the box? And that is the element of surprise and anticipation to hold your customers' attention. And finally, just a few reflection questions, right? As you reflect upon our webinar this evening, later this weekend, really think about, why is attention important? Why do you need your customers' attention? What else and who else is competing for your audience or your customers' attention? Because on social media, they are your audience before they become your customer, right? So you have to gain their trust before them becoming their customer. Thinking about how long do you need their attention, which is why you don't want your first videos to be like 1 to 3 minutes long unless you're telling a really super good story. And most importantly, why do you deserve your customers' attention? So those are some things I want you to think about after listening to my webinar. I love to talk about all things marketing. Think about if you have any questions right now. If not, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, send me a message, send me an email. I'd love to chat briefly about you. I know how hard it is to kind of navigate your way through on social media for the first time. I've been there when Snapchat was initially launched, and I've been there doing a brand completely from scratch. So I hope you all have come away with at least one idea to use for your current business or your future business. And, thank you again to SCORE for having me here today.
Well, thank you. You gave us a lot to think about, Carly. A lot of really good practical examples and very colorful. This was definitely more image related than many of our other training programs are. So in the spirit of short time left, thank you all for sticking it out with us tonight after a long day and learning from Carly what ideas you could get to help spice up your social media. You will be getting all of her materials with the thank you note from SCORE tomorrow, both the slide deck as well as the webinar recording. So just so you know, SCORE is here to help you with your next steps on your business plans and challenges, whether they're on social media or other topics. Don't hesitate to reach out to your SCORE mentor for support. Remember, you're not alone in this process. If you don't have a SCORE mentor, you're welcome to sign up for one. It's free. You can meet your SCORE mentor once or twice or as many times as you'd like. Just go to this link and you can follow the prompts and schedule yourself. We can go to the next slide. If you have any questions about using the online process, don't hesitate to call our office administrator, Catherine, at this phone number or at her email address that's on the screen. Thank you, Carly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Have a good evening.